Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a couple podcasts I think you should be listening to. I love to learn, and so I'm all the time looking for new books to read, new topics to explore, new people to follow online, different blogs, those sort of things. And the best resource I've found for discovering new topics and people is actually podcasts. And so today I just want to go over 3 of my favorite podcasts that have a ton of really interesting guests on them and that I've gotten a great amount of information out of. So here we go. So the first podcast I want to talk about, you've probably heard of. It's one of the biggest podcasts out there. It's the Rogan Experience. And I know Joe Rogan, probably not the first thing you think of when you think of educational and learning new things. And I agree. A lot of times he'll have comedians on or MMA fighters, and those really aren't my favorite episodes of his. The ones I usually gravitate to are the ones where he has authors on or professors, scientists, those sort of things. And I've really found some great resources through listening to his show. You used to be able to find his content just about everywhere, including YouTube, but he's now signed a agreement with Spotify, so all of his new episodes are going to be over on Spotify, but you can still find a lot of his old episodes on YouTube as well. I actually listened to this one this morning on my walk. Highly recommend it. And now I have another author and person to follow and look up and read. And one of the things that make his podcast so good is he's been doing it for a really long time. I think he's past 2,000 episodes now, so he has a ton of experience interviewing people and really making it for an engaging conversation no matter what the topic is. I highly recommend it. If you haven't checked him out yet, I'll link some of my favorite episodes down in the description to give you a good place to start. The next podcast I want to talk about is the Rich Roll podcast, and this has quickly become one of my favorites over the past year or so. Rich Roll has a really interesting and compelling backstory and history. If you haven't read his book, Finding Ultra, I highly recommend it. It pretty much tells his story of how he got where he is. It's really good and very inspirational. So Rich Roll has an athletic background, so a lot of his guests are in that realm. So he has a lot of athletes on. He has a lot of scientists talking about diets and how to live healthy and how to get more fit, those sort of things. But he also has a lot of inspirational and thought-provoking people on his podcast as well. And one of my favorite episodes is where he interviews James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. I actually think I get more out of the interview than I did the book. I highly recommend both, but just being able to sit down and have a conversation with the author like that, he's really able to extract a lot of information and in a very clear and concise way. And the last podcast I want to talk about is the Ferriss Show. So that one I've been listening to probably the longest. I read his book, The 4-Hour Work Week, right when I was starting college, and it was a foundational book for me. It just really changed how I looked at businesses and lifestyle and just what the possibilities were. And I've been following his work ever since. I've read pretty much all of his books, and I listen to a ton of his podcasts. He has a lot of the same type guests that Rich Roll has on his podcast. A lot of health, a lot of wellness, but he also has a lot more business-minded people on the show as well. And because he's very big into growing businesses, building businesses, investing in businesses. So there's a lot to be gained from that as well. One of my favorite episodes was where he actually interviewed Rich Roll. And they sit down and have like a 3-hour conversation, and it is just absolutely packed with great information, and I highly recommend it. I'll put a link down below to that episode. You really get a lot out of it. I've listened to it probably 2 or 3 times now. So that's going to do it for my recommendations on just a couple podcasts that I really enjoy. Like I said, I'll have a couple links down in the description below of a few of my favorite episodes, so it gives you a good place to start. And if you have any podcasts that you recommend, put them down in the comments. I'd love to check them out. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, check out some of my other videos.